back to Action Hour. In this episode, I continue discussing the considerations and impacts of the comprehensive planning process with Marianne and Steve. Take a listen. When we're having this conversation around rural areas of intensive rural development and growth, urban growth areas, when we're having these conversations and we're talking about population growth through this comprehensive planning process, it makes me think of the services required and in order to accommodate this growth. And I'm wondering what you both think about, or if you can explain to me how these services are considered through the comprehensive planning process and the ways in which they're not considered.
Under GMA, urban services are not supposed to be extended to rural areas, except in limited instances where it's necessary for health and safety, environmental protection. So, for instance, Coopville's pipelines are actually being extended now because of the Navy's PFAS contamination. Health and safety makes sense, but it's not going to allow more subdivision, even though in theory the infrastructure might allow more subdivision. That won't be allowed.
Is that because Coopville's in a preserve area, or?
No, that's just because what are you going to do to provide water to these people to get them so they actually have water and not bottled water being provided by the Navy?
Right. I guess I'm just wondering if there would be an argument in the future to expand the boundaries based on that pipeline existing.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. There will be an argument. You can rest assured of it.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's just like an opportunity, like for somebody who is looking for an opportunity, that is one. I guess that's why I was wondering about the logical boundaries of a raid, because it seems like if you extend services, you're like, this is the logical boundary now. Like you could inch it out.
Yeah. I mean, the real limitation on development on the island historically in rural areas has been sewer. People have focused a lot on water as a potential limitation, but I've never seen it actually operate that way.
Oh, no, there's one.
Where?
Sierra.
Okay, Sierra, where there's severe saltwater intrusion.
Where's Sierra?
West side of the island. North of
Coopville. If you go to Libby Road,
yes,
and head out Libby Road, and then turn up West Beach Road, where Libby Road and West Beach Road meet, that is the corner of the Sierra development. So it is north of Libby Road and west of West Beach Road.
Is it also like a golf club?
Yeah.
Golf club over there?
I think there might be a golf.
I don't think so.
A lot of those places.
But for decades and decades, Sierra has simply not had enough water to serve the parcels that are in that development. And they have an annual, or used to have an annual lottery. And I mean, 1 or 2 water rights or connections would be handed out per year. And, if you were the lucky one, you could build a house in Sierra. And if not, tough noogies.
Yeah.
And where were these water rights coming from?
There is a well, and it's a community water association.
There's some rotation of people living there, or that kind of thing. So
Sierra is very much undeveloped, and other things, it's highly desirable.
But
it's coastal bluff prairie,
but
great views.
None of that is the result of GMA.
No.
That is the result of there's just not being water there. And drilling wells there sucks up salt. So there's a place on the island where saltwater intrusion has been a problem. And the critical aquifer recharge area, critical area designation is supposed to take care of that. And there's some screening for that now in some areas. But people have looked at water in terms of, well, we're on an island, we know outside of Oak Harbor, there's no giant pipelines from the mainland, no big rivers, no melting glaciers, none of that. So, but for all that, as a potential impediment to development, it has never actually operated that way, the water on the island.
Yeah, not yet anyway.
Not yet. Not yet.
Mhm.
What has operated is dealing with shit. There's originally people could have third-acre lots, and DOE would approve a septic system. Then that became a half acre, and now I think it's up to an acre. But of course, you have all these existing lots.
Yeah, some that are very small. Like if you go to Skagit Head, their houses, everybody's house is right next to each other.
You can see these houses along the shoreline with these, basically kitty litter boxes, these special sewer systems that are really fragile and temporary. But I'm increasingly taking the long-term view of this. With sea level rise, most of those are going to go away, and what's behind there is no longer going to be these really small lots, because the really small lots are mostly on the coast, because that's where the land was really expensive and valuable.
Right, but the small lots, even if the small lots that currently exist, maybe in the future won't because of sea level rise, it does still introduce the question of how do you manage sewage for greater development in urban growth areas and in raids, because you have to be able to account for all of the waste of more people.
Yes. And Island County's approach at this point is they've hired somebody, she's in the health department, to look at all of the alternatives. Right now, we've got two ends of the scale. At one end is the individual home septic system. At the other end is a multi-million dollar sewage treatment plant. There are, in fact, out there in the world, a whole lot of intermediate options. And when we have been involved, we have, proposed and presented those intermediate options, or some of them. And there's always this nervous laugh that's associated with this, because, we don't talk about that stuff, but we need to talk about that stuff. And so I'm trying to remember her name. As I say, she's Heather Courtian in the health department. And she is investigating, which of these many alternative options at different scales, ranging from the single family unit to all the way up to that giant sewage plant, which of those make sense in different situations in Island County. And I think that at some point, if Island County, is, what can I say, if they're smart about it, they will adopt, who knows, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10 different options that would handle, maybe a 5-house unit, a 10-house unit. That there are these intermediate options. And that is, unfortunately, it's a double-edged sword. It's going to open up a lot of places, for development that would otherwise not be available for development.
Right. Like the availability of technology and options allows for there to be maybe smarter development or more concentrated development in areas that can keep rural areas rural, but it also creates the opportunity for areas that otherwise wouldn't have been able to be developed to be open to that.
Yeah. Which is why I've been pushing, and I don't know where to push and how to push, but I keep pushing that we have the mainland counties. So they're densely developed. Snohomish, King, Pierce are very densely developed. And that Island County GMA is based on counties, which it should not be. It should be based on regions, geographic regions.
Mm-hmm.
And the islands, I firmly believe, should be a part of the green belt around that dense urban development on the mainland.
Mm-hmm.
That I guess I'm accused of being a NIMBY, that, we're here now, shut the door behind us. But the fact is that the people in those densely developed urban areas need a place to go that is relatively close to home, that
Mm-hmm.
is not more, suburban glorp. And that I think we should play that role.
Yeah, I think I definitely think that it is an interesting thing to see how there really isn't much nuance in the Growth Management Act for different geographical considerations.
Right.
And I do also think that, islands have very specific challenges.
Yes.
That other places don't, and other places have specific challenges that we don't, right? And so being more thoughtful about that would probably create better outcomes for everybody. And I do think that us being a greenbelt is a very good idea. I mean, I met quite a few people this weekend who were visiting from the mainland, and they were really appreciating and enjoying their time on the island.
Exactly.
they were, loving the greenery and appreciating the greenery, and, really, I do think enriched by it.
Yes.
And so, if we don't have that, then what do we have?
Well, we have more. It used to be the thing that people would say, well, you want this place to turn into Linwood? That was considered the worst possible option, to turn
Mm-hmm.
into Linwood.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I don't want this place to turn into Linwood.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry that Linwood got developed the way it did, but why should we follow their bad example?
Right. And development and how it happens here and at the rate and with what thoughtfulness is all kind of determined by the comprehensive planning process.
And that starts with the Office of Financial Management and its population projections.
Mm-hmm.
And, the Island County did have the option. It could have taken the low end population projection. I mean, there's the low, medium, and high projections. Island County chose the medium projection. Okay, we're middle of the road. But I think it would have been better to choose the low projection. The problem is, the whole point of GMA is that once you decide how many people you expect in the next 20 years, the county is required to provide the infrastructure to make it possible for that number of people to live here.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that now we are planning for more roads, more schools, more sewage treatment plants,
Mm-hmm.
more wells, more of all of that infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
And, there is a requirement there. And I feel like we're hitting a wall of no return, if you will, that at some point we destroy what we'll come here for.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's very hard to undo development once it's done, right? Like that's the thing.
All but impossible.
Why is it impossible?
Not impossible, all but impossible.
It's
All but
very expensive.
Okay.
Well, it's expensive. It's physically difficult if you are, rewilding a place, quote unquote.
Mhm.
Are you going to pick up all of that infrastructure and dispose of it somewhere?
And then you create, so where it goes somewhere else becomes garbage.
Yeah.
Somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I don't know how popular it is, but there are houses here on the island that have literally been floated over here from the mainland and set up here. Would, do we end up floating houses out of here because we have too many of them? And of course, everybody's screaming, affordable housing. So that really wouldn't be allowed, would it?
Well, as sea level rises, there's going to be hundreds of derelict structures on the shoreline. They're not going to be covered by insurance by then. The insurance companies will pull it out. The county's not going to have the money. The state's not going to have the money. The federal government's not going to have the money because, do you spend money protecting second vacation homes on the coast of Whidbey Island, or do you use it to protect New York City? It's a simple matter of political power.
Right. And this conversation that we had about the shoreline and sea level rise and the potential for derelict structures in the ocean and what we can do to kind of prevent that or plan for it is a way in which, if we were planning comprehensively for the future and really thinking comprehensively, those are things that we would be considering in this planning process, right? But if you're reading line by line a previous version of the plan that wasn't considering sea level rise, you'll never get to that conversation.
Or even just more broadly, why are houses being built in a way that does not allow for them to be taken apart later?
Right.
You go,
right.
At a certain point, we just throw it all away. And that kind of made sense when everything was biodegradable.
Right. When everything was going back into the land, it wasn't. Yeah. But yeah, we don't have we don't use biodegradable materials anymore when we're building. But when we're talking about like policy and zoning, zoning being a part of that, is there a way that like Island County could create a policy that says that your house has to be able to be taken apart? Like, is that something that Island County could do, or is that outside of their?
I think the county could do it. I don't think
so. The building is so
rational. Well, you're talking about political power. I'm talking theoretically.
Well, yeah. So we could talk politically. We could talk legally. What are the boundaries?
Health and safety. I think it certainly for the shoreline. It's kind of ridiculous at this point that the county does not every year update, a map that shows expected inundation on the shoreline over what time period.
Mm-hmm.
Does it not have that?
No.
We have seen some of those maps. I don't know how old they are.
The county doesn't have that. County doesn't do that. And so, now we're arguing about whether these places that were built at or even below sea level should be allowed, to raise seawalls or install seawalls or raise existing seawalls even higher, but it's all just kind of punting it all down the road when it's being addressed.
Right. Yeah. But I guess in a development application, right? Like if a comprehensive plan then has to be implemented, through zoning and through, and ordinances, would it be possible for a comprehensive plan to say, in the housing element, for example, that all new structures built on the island have to have certain requirements, like being able to be taken apart?
Sure. It could say that. It could say they all need to have solar on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Or a green roof.
And rainwater systems. Like we could ask for more sustainable development.
Yeah. And the response typically is that really raises the cost. Or there's kind of two typical rebuttals to that. One is it raises the cost. The other is you're taking away people's choice. But we do that all the time anyway. You can't build a place you can't get a permit to build a place that's obviously a fire trap.
Right, because that's about health and safety. And so
that hasn't been allowed in, 100 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So, this, we have these kind of restrictions all the time. The question is, at what point do we do them when it becomes obvious that, society as a whole needs them if society is going to persist.
Mm-hmm. So there could potentially be justification for those kinds of restrictions, depending.
I think there already is on the shoreline. Elsewhere, you can argue about it.
Well, I feel like elsewhere, you may be able to argue about, whether or not your house needs to be taken apart. But I think from a, solar perspective, or from a rainwater collection perspective, or from other perspectives in terms of sustainability, there might be some requirements. Like I think even the Planning Commission was talking about wood burning stoves during one of the meetings, and the pollution impact of wood burning stoves in people's homes. And they were like, well, we could consider, not allowing people to do that going forward. And of course, I think the response was like, people love their wood burning stoves, and it's political suicide to take away people's wood burning stoves. But
they're diesel generators when the power goes out.
What'd you say?
They love their diesel generators when the power goes out.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's a question, the wood burning stove is one of those where it's like, if you don't have a wood burning stove and you don't have a generator and the power goes out and it's very cold, you're in a position then where you could be very unsafe.
Yes.
I mean, your basic options are, in those situations, because practically speaking, it's really difficult to run a heat pump on, battery backup with solar in winter. That's really hard with here. But yeah, practically speaking, your alternatives are propane or wood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Poison.
The thing is that it is possible to have a wood stove and use it, very sparingly. For us, it's an issue that when the power goes down, we have some serious problems. We do have a propane stove. So it becomes this, balancing act between, we have a privately owned utility, which is untrustworthy, and it's very hard to count on that power being there when you need it. And therefore people want the, environmentally unsound backup. And how do we get past that?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's an issue that's very particular to living in a rural place, because I have never dealt, like when I moved from a city and I never had to deal with power outages like I do here. And people, I mean, from my point of view, like people need their wood burning stoves and they need their alternatives if the power goes out and it's cold. Yep. And it goes out when it's cold, because that's when the wind is at its highest, and that's when the windstorms are happening. And that's when, like the trees come down, and, it's,
do we look at it from another side, which is, this is a company that makes an awful lot of money off of us. It's in effect a monopoly.
Oh, yes.
Do we demand more of this monopoly? I mean, I don't know if you noticed. We
tried to do a PUD and it failed miserably. It's hard to beat a couple $1 million being thrown against you.
But in the last week or two, PSE has announced that they may be doing preemptive power outages to keep their power lines from catching trees on fire. And
what?
Look at what's happened in California.
Yeah.
So basically, you have a very large corporation, a monopoly. It has basically literally power over all of us customers.
Yes.
And, what are you going to do if they preemptively turn off the power and tell you that it's going to be off for the next 48 hours?
Yeah. I mean, and that doesn't work for people who need machinery to live. People who are, yeah. It doesn't work.
Yeah, so it's very far from comprehensive planning, but it's obviously connected.
Right. Well, everything kind of circles back to the comprehensive plan, because the comprehensive plan kind of dictates how we're going to live on this island, and it dictates all land use zoning, right? Like, and it, I guess I'm not really sure where to go from here. I kind of asked a lot of the questions that I wanted to ask, except that I was wondering when it was and how it was that you all got the 1 unit per 5 acres adopted.
Oh, God.
Historically, 5 acres has been kind of viewed as the edge between rural density and urban or suburban density.
Okay, so that's kind of the marker.
But, realistically, and I know growth management hearings boards have recognized this, it's kind of the edge there. In a rural area, really, you have other densities as well. You got 5, you got 10s, you got 20s, 40s, 80s, and GMA's requirements are that you have a variety of rural densities. And we actually had a case in front of the hearings board where the board kind of threw up its hands in exasperation. We were trying to argue that the county should not allow any more subdivision because there are already so many 5-acre lots.
Mm-hmm.
That, they shouldn't be allowing, they should be able to establish a 10-acre zone and a 20-acre zone still. And the hearings board kind of threw up its hands and said, Island County is already so subdivided, it's too late.
Mm.
That's literally what they said in their ruling against us.
Yeah, that interim zoning ordinance from 1984, the rural zone was called rural residential, and it was 1 unit per 2.5 acres.
Mm.
So at one point, the hearings board did invalidate the rural zoning, and the fallback was 1 unit per 10 acres.
Mm-hmm.
And it caused quite some consternation, but it didn't last, obviously.
Right. So it was but now the standard is 1 unit per 5 acres, right? There's not.
Yeah.
Right. And the county's finally stopped allowing parcels that are larger, multiples of 5 acres, to stop just subdividing, doing unregulated subdivisions down to that. The county was doing that for a long time. And the county continued doing that up until very recently.
No, it was down to 10s.
Yeah, down to 10s.
So what about areas where, I feel like I think I remember going to a property that was in Clinton somewhere when I had a friend who was looking for property. He was looking to buy, he's an island resident. He wanted to buy a house, and he was looking at all different property. And there was a property in Clinton where I think they were like very small lots. They were not 1 unit per 5 acre lots. They were like, they were very close to each other, and there were no homes built yet. And
that's in the Clinton rate. I would be willing to bet.
Okay. And so how big is the Clinton raid? How many raids are on the island? And how big?
Well, you've got the residential raids and you have the non-residential raids. And I think there's a current push to kind of end that subdivision. So, for instance, the non-residential raids where, you have these little villages or little businesses, some places, at least corners, an example, being able to do, residential development upstairs, things, and vice versa with business development in the residential rates.
No, that's not being considered.
That's not being considered.
No, specifically.
It would be really difficult socially because all those places tend to be coastal.
Yeah, no, the non-residential rates, there is a move to add residential development. For instance, apartments above the shopping center at Kent's Corner.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't going to happen at this point for several reasons. One of them being septic.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one being that the new owners are turning it all into storage units. They're not real interested in people.
Mm-hmm.
But for instance, above the Goose, having apartments over that shopping center, I guess you would call it.
Mm-hmm.
That is very much being talked about. They're calling it something like multiple use rates.
Okay.
But,
so there are commercial raids and there are residential raids, and then there's the potential for these mixed use raids.
Yes,
There's
yes.
Combination of commercial and residential.
Yeah. And I don't think there is any residential raid that anybody is suggesting be turned into residential and commercial.
Mm-hmm. Okay, there's just the conversion of current existing commercial raids to being.
Yeah. And there is a push to make Clinton a non-municipal UGA.
Oh, okay. Like Freeland. Freeland is a non-municipal UGA. What makes it non-municipal?
It's not incorporated.
It's not a town.
Okay.
And Clinton was one initially, wasn't an MUGA, but reality kind of dawned in terms of the possibility of doing septic there.
Well, I mean, there have been a number of studies and proposals for a sewer in Clinton. And basically, even the whisper of the price tag, people would blanch, and that would be the end of that.
Yeah.
So having what makes a municipality then?
Oh, to be incorporated as a town or a city.
I mean, it's a separate jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Separate jurisdiction. Okay. And why would you choose to be incorporated? What are the benefits? Why would you choose to stay unincorporated? What are the benefits?
Basically, I can't give a good answer to that, but Langley has all the trouble in the world being a, quote, city of, we're up to, I hear, 1,100 people.
Mm-hmm.
Coopville has been a town all these many years, and there's actually a substantive difference between a town and a city.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't tell you what the specific difference is, but basically it's kind of onerous because there are all of these public services that the jurisdiction, in this case, the town or the city, has to provide. And Coopville basically has handed things like the sheriff's department back to the county and said, they had a town cop for a while and it was so expensive. They said, forget it, let Island County take care of that. So there are urban services that they need to be able to provide.
Right. And I guess if you incorporate, and this is just conjecture, but I guess if you incorporate, you then have to create a budget, which creates a tax system.
Yeah.
And then you pay the people who live in your incorporated area, pay taxes to your town or your city for the municipalities or the services.
Yeah.
Town council or city council and a mayor or administrator, and got that whole political layer too. Which, depending on your point of view, could be good, bad, or different.
Right.
Yeah.
But Freeland doesn't have that because we're not a town or a city.
Right. So it's...
I do kind of love living in a place that's not a town or city.
Historically, I think what you're calling NMUGAs, I think the general feeling is that ultimately they become separate jurisdictions.
Yeah, it was always the assumption. And Freeland, I mean, do you know the history of the place where you live? Do you know why it's called Freeland?
Oh, yeah, because it was a socialist commune like the 1900s, early 1900s.
Yeah.
Not that, well, it was that early, but let me think. Ethel Liskey was of my parents' generation, and Ethel grew up in the commune.
Oh.
So we got to hear her stories about, and the problem was free land was very enticing to a number of people who didn't necessarily subscribe to the rest of the program.
Right. Yeah, that's always the problem, right? Opportunism. It's opportunists.
Yeah. But yeah, Freeland never got to the point of actually incorporating as a town.
Go us. Let's keep it going. Stay unincorporated forever.
The problem being that then Freeland is governed by the county.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that is an interesting thing. And I'm curious about the interaction between the cities and towns and the county in terms of ordinances, because, so Freeland's governed by the county because we're unincorporated. I guess Clinton is also
right.
County because they're unincorporated. Oak Harbor is a city.
Oak Harbor, Langley, and Coopville have their own governing structure and
they're
taxes.
Yeah.
They're the only municipalities in Island County. Camano Island has no UGA at all. It does have a few raids.
Of course, Stanwood sort of functions as de facto UGA, but that's Snohomish County.
Right. Well, this isn't related to the comprehensive plan necessarily, but why are Camano and Whidbey Island the same county? And was Island County way bigger at one point?
No,
it's never been bigger. Somebody told me that. Somebody told me misinformation about Island County over the weekend.
No, there was never, anything like the San Juans and Whidbey and Camano, and Fox Island and Anderson Island and all those other little islands being part of one county. That never happened.
No, but remember that when Washington became a state, 1889, there were not a lot of cars around in the world.
There were not a lot of roads.
And
traffic was on
everything was on the water. So that Whidbey and Camano were very close together on the water. So it made a certain amount of sense.
No bridge.
And there were docks all along the east side of the island, including at Green Bank and obviously Coopville. And kids at Green Bank went to school in Everett on the Mosquito Fleet boats.
Yeah. And people suggested that Camano become part of Snohomish County, and Snohomish County said no. Not interested. So it's kind of this orphan over there. And many of the people in Camano have somewhat of a chip on their shoulder about that, always feeling kind of left out.
Which I could get, because we don't function on the water anymore as a society.
No.
And it's really hard to go to events on Camano Island.
Well,
and if it was
a couple
boats,
hours.
I mean, if it was boats, you could be over there, and once you get on the boat in 15 minutes.
I think, somebody suggested that WEAN get a van, but I think we should get a boat so that we can jet over to Camano to see our constituents there.
There have been a lot of
little speedboat or a sailboat.
There have been a lot of suggestions over the years about a ferry between Camano and Coopville, including just so county employees could get back and forth. But somehow they always kind of run aground or don't run aground on the question of where they're going to dock and how.
The loudest one is this guy, and I cannot remember his name at all, but he tried. He I mean, the plan was from the west side of Camino to the Coopville dock, and that he would not have a ferry boat. He would have a tugboat that towed a barge, and you would drive on the barge, and he would bring the barge over to Coopville. And
How the barge would then unload, that was always a little sketchy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And is it too far for a water taxi?
No,
no,
you could have it would be hard. It would be a lot easier to do a passenger only service than.
That's what I was thinking. Like if because there's like a water taxi from West Seattle to, Seattle City Center, and you just.
Is there enough traffic to support it?
Well, actually,
and if you're not supporting it from the people using it, who's paying?
We've been through at least twice that I can think of when the ferry workers went on strike and the boats stopped running. Mm-hmm. And it was a very interesting time. Now, on both Whidbey and Camino, there are bridges. Mm-hmm. So it was not that horrible, but traffic across the bridge was pretty insane. And we knew lots of people who put their own private boats into service as passenger commuter boats. Mm-hmm. And they were running people. There was some reason they couldn't bring them to the Mukilteo dock. They were running them to Everett and other such places. But I mean, when it came right down to it, people figured out ways to move across the water without the ferry.
That makes sense. That's really funny.
But probably not a million tourists.
So I guess to go back to the comprehensive plan and to kind of wrap this up, because we're over time, and also, I don't know, I'm tired. I feel like you guys might be tired too. But I guess the one question I want to ask about the comprehensive plan on a high level, what do we need to consider in order to better protect wild spaces and our ecosystems in the comprehensive planning process?
Give them respect.
Yeah.
And acknowledge them for their value on their own, as opposed to what are they doing for us. Mm-hmm. This is something that has been frying my cookies for a long time, that, why should we protect that? What am I going to get out of it? And as a matter of fact, what you're going to get out of it is clean air, clean water, and clean food. But aside from that, yeah. And actually, I've been seeing reports lately about the connection between wild and open spaces and mental health. Mm-hmm. So that's yet another item in the pro column, that we want to protect those places, because aside from clean air, clean water, clean food, clean brain? I don't know what to call it, but
well-being. Yeah.
Well-being. Yeah.
Our well-being is connected and tied to all other life on Earth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we have heard for all these many, many years, there's been this utter and absolute assumption that land that is not actively farmed or in process of being developed or already developed is waiting for that it is being wasted while it waits. And that
tame the wilderness.
Yeah. So that attitude somehow needs to be reversed. That no, it is not just waiting for us to do something with it. It's doing itself. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And that it's so one of the things Commissioner Jill Johnson, her big thing these days is equity, equity, equity. Mm-hmm. And so one of the reasons to protect as much open space as possible is that the people who are living in those tiny homes and other small spaces need a place to be. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes, they do. Yes. Which kind of brings us back to, something that's happening on a city level, not a county level necessarily, in Oak Harbor. But
yes.
the question around the protection of park space in the city and protecting those park spaces from development.
There's safeguards they could add, like they could adopt a policy of no net loss of parks by area and, area of the city they're in and by size. They could, even do some parks planning in the nature of, surveying how many people are using all these different parks. And heaven forbid, what would those people like to see in their parks?
Yeah. But it's interesting because I've thought about this, and especially as it pertains to WEAN's work, that actually it's the people who are living in the urban areas in our county that are going to experience the loss of wild spaces first and already have. They will experience the degradation of their quality of life and of their water and of their air and everything. Like they are the people on the front line of ecological degradation.
Yes.
Well, on that note,
another man up in the pulpit in the state house, head of the table with a black pen, scratching egos, talking too loud, externalize every outcome, every warm gun, every profit, and kneeling down to the flashing numbers, the NASDAQ, the cold constructs, running backwards to just keep moving, just keep moving, just keep moving. I'm learning every lesson that our mothers tried to teach us.
This podcast is a production of the Whidbey Environmental Action Network and is made possible by our generous donors. Produced, edited, and mixed by me, Amanda Bullis. Special thanks to Marianne and Steve for their years of service through action and for lending their voices to this podcast. To WEAN's Executive Director, Marnie Jackson, and our board for their leadership. Special thanks to Whidbey musician and WEAN board member, Nathaniel Talbot, for letting us use his track, Intuition, from the album Animal, available on Bandcamp.
Every day on your paycheck, a volume of confidence against the idea of your body being put into your own hands. So please don't hold it, please don't hold it, please don't hold it back. Unleash the power, the straight logic of compassion. What I need now ain't that old religion or the cold hard facts. Just need a woman's intuition, get us on track. Just need a woman's intuition, get us on track. Stepping out of the shadow of a false man's allegory, slowly erasing that old violence from the story, recoupling emotion, slow emotion to intelligence, granting the planters, healers, teachers, feelers a new relevance. What I need now ain't that old religion or the cold